What's up, guys? Welcome back. I know it's been a while, but today I wanted to talk about interface design. And to prove a point, I made today's thumbnail in Studio. To prove that, let's go over here and play around in the world. Let's hop right into it. Okay, so I'm over in Studio, and I'm in a little survival game that I'm working on, and I have these pickaxe and axe tools, and when I break rocks, I get items in my inventory. I have a little inventory here, but it's not populating. And so I think what I want to do is I want to add um, two things. I want to add items that get populated in here, and I want to update this inventory UI because it's a little dated. So let's work on that. Here I've got the inventory, and you'll notice everything's well named. So I have the inventory here, which is this outer frame, and within it I have this contents frame. And this is invisible, but I'll make it white just so you can see that within this larger frame we have a couple of header texts, but all my items are within a subframe called contents. Within there, we have a grid layout with an aspect ratio constraint under it. And this constrains each of our little grid boxes here to be 1 by 1. Notice the constraint set to 1. And I think I have about 25 or 20 of these. What's it say? 20. I got 20 frames here for each little item. What I think I want to do is, I think I want to make this a little bolder to put a little more emphasis on the title, and I think I want to change the font around a little bit. So I think it always helps too when designing these. And I'm going to want to make sure that these can get populated when they're in there. And I'll do a little design process of populating those cells. So let's start off by going into title here, and I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm using this convert plugin, which is very useful. I'm going to make this the title frame, and within it, we're going to make the title the full size. Now we can go like this, and we can bring it down. Maybe make it black. UI corner. Let's make the corner 12, maybe a little more round, just so it's noticeable. I'm going to add a gradient to it because sometimes that looks good. Really, what you got to do is just kind of fiddle around with things and see what kind of sticks. I feel like that's always best for me, is just throwing stuff at a wall. And the gradient seems to be left to right, so we got to rotate it by 90 degrees. Rotate it by minus 90 degrees. Yeah, I kind of like that. I like this font though. It doesn't really match the style that we're going for. So I'm gonna use a Builder Sans font, which I really like. And I'm gonna change this to inventory. And I'm gonna leave this text here because I think it's always best to leave players a little information as to what's going on. So within our contents here, we got our frame. I'm gonna add a corner to it. I like adding rounded corners. Make the corner radius 0.1 a little less rounded. And within that, we're gonna add a maximum size background transparency thing, and we'll just call this item content. This will be item slot. Um, Actually, no, because the way my inventory system works, we'll take a look at it. Here, I store items as an array of dictionaries where each dictionary has an ID and an amount. So what I'm thinking is that each one of these could be populated with a certain ID and a certain amount, and then what happens is that the UI function will populate each cell based off each array in the index. So based off this information, we got an item and we get a number. So let's just add an image label for the item icon, and we'll make this max size transparent with no image in it, clear it out there. And I'll add a text label. And I think I want this to go in the bottom left. So 0, 1, we'll stick it in the bottom left. And then we want this to go 0, 1, size to be 1, and a y of 0.2. Make it 0.3 just so we have a little more space to play with. Align it to the bottom left. I'm going to add a stroke. And make it bold. Make it text scaled. It's a little far to the left, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move this over by 0.1, and that should be fine. I'm going to move it up by 0.1 just so it's not on the edge there. Again, give it some padding. There we go. So let's actually clear the text. And we can call this icon, and we can call this amount. And I'm actually going to recenter the icon in the middle of the slot. I'm not going to make it 0.1. I'm going to make it 0.9, just so it's a little smaller, so it fits within that corner border if the item has a very big icon. So there we go. We got an item slot, and I'm going to use some population here. I like to leave my item or my interface templates in the replicated storage, and I like to populate them in code generally, just so if we make a change, we just change one thing and it gets populated. So let's work on our inventory UI here. And I'm going to fast forward and talk about what I wrote after. Okay, guys, so I'm here in recording, and I just want to say thank you to everybody because I realize now, just looking at the channel, that I hit over 2,000 subscribers. I didn't even realize that. I haven't really been paying attention. But you know what I do pay attention to is all the comments. I see a lot of you guys recommending stuff, a lot of you guys asking questions, and I don't really like to respond in the YouTube comments. And if you have a more technical question, join the Discord server, drop a question at me, and I'm sure I'll answer it eventually. I just answered a question right now about the component system. So anyway, thank you guys, and enjoy the video. Doing a little bug correcting here, making sure everything's okay, and we'll get back to it. Okay, so after a little finagling, I've got my code to work, so let's review it. So I create a constant here for the max number of slots in my inventory, and I get my item information module, which I store here in data. And every item has a name and an icon, and it's indexed by the item name. And then we have the update inventory event and the template item slot, which is under our interface assets. So when I'm creating an inventory like this, and this is kind of a feature design too for all you feature design voters, quick shout out to everyone that voted on the YouTube channel about which thing to do. I appreciate that. We'll do it again. What I like to do is I like to have a clear slot and a populate slot function. Basically what the clear does is it resets it back to an empty state, and population basically fills it with whatever info we provide. So we provide the slot and some info, and we just set the image to the icon provided in the items information, and the amount, which we provided here in the item info, gets set to the amount. And if it's more than one, we don't show it. Or if it's less than one, we don't show it because it's just one item. And that always looks a little cleaner. We have a generate slots function here, which creates each slot for the max number of slots. And it just gives it a name, a layout order, parents it, and it puts it in the client slot cache here, which holds on to which slots we have, and it puts them in order. So then, whenever we get an update from the server, which just sends an array of those items, like I talked about earlier, we iterate over all the slots, we see if there's info in the items table, and if there is, we populate it. If there's not, we clear it. And that handles that if, say, we remove an item, which is in the middle, and everything else shifts left, it'll just iterate across all of them, and it'll just replace any information that's already there. And some people might say that's inefficient, but it doesn't happen that often, and it's not that bad. And for this example, whatever. If you want to optimize it to, optimization oblivion, be my guest, waste 3 hours. Let's take a look at what we got so far. So I can toggle this with G. I have it set up. I can mine some stone, and you see I've already mined some items. I can get some sulfur. I don't have a sulfur icon. Get some phoenix here. That's the purple. A little emerald. A little iron over here. Walk over here to the cactus. See if we can get a little cactus. Didn't like that. Get a little wood. Didn't like that. Let's fix it. Okay, so I'm back and I fixed it, but something I've noticed is that these two things don't have icons, and right now I'm too lazy to make an icon. So let's quickly add a feature to our interface here where when we hover over these, it'll display the item name, just so I can see what these are. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to drag out my item slot that I have saved over here in my templates, and I'm going to place it down here and start working on it again. For the hover feature, I like to add a text button. Make it big, make it full, etc. And just delete the text. I always think that's a little easier. And we'll call this, just call it button. And I'm going to duplicate the amount here. I'm going to move it up to the top. Keep the same size. And we'll align the text to the center. And if we do this, this should say like berry. Should look good. Okay. And we'll call this item name. So we've added some functionality here. We've added the necessary elements. So we could put it back in my interface here. And what I've added is a button for the hover capabilities and the name for the display there for the name. And what I'm going to do is when I generate my slot here, I'm going to say before I parent it, it's always best to add things before you parent them. I'm going to say this dot button dot mouse enter. Make a little function here. We're going to say this dot item name that is true. Do a little copy paste. Mouse leave false and dot item name dot label is false. Slot dot item name text is empty. Let's say slot dot item name dot text is item data name, right? Very Phoenix mystery emerald. Okay, so now when we go in, cross my fingers, and it doesn't quite update. We'll have to change that. If I use the pickaxe, I should be able to hover over leaf, wood, cactus, stone, sulfur. Nice. So now I know what everything is, even these two things without icons. Okay, so that was a bit of a longer tutorial. Um, Talking about some interface stuff. And that was a little bit of interface, a little bit of feature design. If you want me to talk more about feature design, which I saw some people did on the poll, I'm going to keep doing polls, keep you guys updated on what you may or may not want to do. Comment down below. If this wasn't very interesting, comment down below. If you liked it a lot, comment down below. I really want to know where to go with these things. And I'm sorry I've been busy. I mean, I guess I haven't uploaded for... Last time I uploaded was 4 months ago. I really want to fix that. Sorry for leaving you guys in the dark. I'm active on my Discord if you find that in the description of my YouTube channel, all that stuff. And thank you guys for watching.